the ladder on 2 straight victories. Carlton as well, 2 straight victories.
And Brisbane, the surprise packet of the season so far.
Haven't they been? Wow. 2 straight victories as well, getting over your mob.
Yeah, both in Melbourne and Perth, if you don't mind.
Oh, and then we've got Collingwood, Freo and GWS still winless at this stage of the season.
But I think GWS probably had the best defeat of the year.
I think so. It was very modest.
It was. We're also going to talk about the W League Grand Final and the A League and the NBL with Perth, the Perth Wildcats making their 31st final series in a row.
Doing very well indeed. We're also going to get to some cricket news as well, of course. As Liam was saying before we went on air, one of the more pointless series that we've had. The T20 kicks off at the MCG very, very soon against Sri Lanka. I think it's a 2-game series.
3. Melbourne, Geelong and Adelaide.
That's how much we know about it. And we're also going to talk about a local cricket story as well. A guy making 80% of one of the local side's runs. So a lot of sport ahead.
Yes, and this is the Birds of Tokyo here on Sport Desk. That was Birds of Tokyo here on the Sport Desk on CN 90.7. Let's kick things off with round 2 of AFLW action and start off on a nice Friday night at the Wooden Oval with the Adelaide Crows upsetting the Premiership Fancies, the Western Bulldogs.
The Daughters of the West, as they're commonly referred to.
Yes, with their new theme song.
And it was a very good game, this one. And I think what kind of was the Achilles heel for the Doggies in this game was they scored 2 goals 11. So they had a lot of scoring shots, but just couldn't convert. And 11 behinds is a fair few. And 5 misses in the first quarter. Well, it's pretty difficult to, continue on your merry ways.
And they had the win that quarter.
They did, and that kind of that was the big factor because in the next quarter, Adelaide had all the scoring shots, 3 goals, 3 goals 1. Or I think it was 3 goals 3 in that second quarter. So Adelaide had all the scoring shots, and Western Bulldogs only managed to get a goal on the board in that quarter. So, the win seemed to, that end seemed to be the scoring end, and unfortunately the Doggies, they just couldn't dominate.
No, and another big issue was the fact that their skipper, Katie Brennan, went down with an ankle injury. And she played out the rest of the game, but, she probably wasn't 100%.
That's right. And if you looked how influential she was the week before, she really did, the Doggies really did miss her out there.
There is a superstar in the making for Adelaide, Mrs. Sarah Tex Perkins.
Sarah Tex Perkins.
That's what she's known as, Sarah Tex Perkins.
From one text to another.
Yes, absolutely killed it on the weekend. Very dominating presence she has.
Yeah, she was outstanding. Really showed great composure. She looked like, some of the players still look like they're trying to find their feet, whereas others have almost all the time in the world and just all the poise that you need. And she certainly is becoming a big lineup player in that Adelaide side.
The only issue I have with the new theme song, which is Daughters of the West now, it's one of the issues I've also had with the National Anthem, when the people who sing it try to make it like a big solo song instead of like just a theme song. It sounds like the lady singing the Daughters of the West is like she was at a concert and dedicating this song to the Bulldogs, and instead of a song you're running out the banner with. Apart from that, I like the song. I do like the Daughters of the West. It's just that my one little issue with the song.
I think yes, it's definitely a song that's inclusive of the women's side, and pretty well sung. But you really need a strong song to kind of get you through the banner, something that probably is less pop, more kind of game faces on, let's do this. I mean, maybe the Doggies like the kind of flashy presence out there, something a little bit jazzy,
well,
kind of gets them upbeat.
That's what they said during the game, because I think it was Brad Johnson on commentary even commented about it, saying it does sound a bit poppy, and they go, that's the new hip these days.
But, Brad Johnson being one of the hardest players you could ever meet, I tell you what, if he came out to that, he'd just look at the box and go, come on, make it a little bit more, put a bit more gusto into it.
We'll go down to Saturday, and almost another big upset, probably one of the games of the season so far, the GWS Giants going down to Carlton, 34-47.
This was a part of course, the big double header that happened at Icon Park on Saturday. Of course, Carlton GWS was followed very soon after by Collingwood and Melbourne. But getting to the Carlton GWS game, this is probably one of the closer matches that we've had in the Women's League so far. In fact, probably has been the closest one we've had. And I think both teams definitely had a chance to win this game, And at half time, it was Carlton 2-3 to GWS 2-2, and
at three-quarter time was 4-4.
That's right. At the very final break, it could have been anyone's game still, but the home side got home in the end. And
well, GWS was caught napping at the start of the last quarter with the 2 goals from Pound and Dowry. After that, they kind of pulled their head back in the game, but it was too little, too late. Unfortunately for the Giants. Also, our goal-kicking sensation, the woman at the moment, Vestio, with her 2 goals, did not have a great game.
No,
but did what a forward should do: kick the 2 goals. That's all she needs to do.
And it seemed like a bit of a AFLW round where goals weren't aplenty. There was a larger spread across the board. So if you kicked 2 goals, you were considered pretty influential throughout the whole game. So she was good again. So she's leading the tally. 6 goals, and that's 3 ahead of anyone else.
Yes, we'll get to the goal kicking a bit later. We'll go down to Saturday evening, and this is the tale of 2 halves.
It certainly was.
If there ever was one.
It certainly was. It reminds me of very reminiscent of a couple of Queen's birthday clashes in the men's AFL. Very, very lopsided at one stage, and then suddenly a little burst of goals. I was at this game, fortunately enough. It's my first AFL women's game I've been to, and strong crowd of about 6,000 there. I'll tell you what, even though some of the stands weren't filled, the noise was unbelievable. Really, really loud, and it was about a patch of 17 minutes. I think it was just after the halftime break, and Melbourne really rallied together. It looked like at the start of the third quarter, Collingwood, might gain some more composure and kick away, but Melbourne just came streaming back, kicked 4 goals in a row, and my hero, I'll tell you what, she was unbelievable for Melbourne. Phillips. She kicked this incredible goal. Cat Phillips, of course, we're talking about.
Snap.
She was in the pocket, deep in the pocket, kind of put it onto her right boot, and it just went through beautifully. And no one was expecting it, and I wasn't expecting it either. But of course, the big marquee player for Collingwood, and there's been a lot of hype and hope around her throughout the league.
Wow,
but,
who are you talking about?
Mona did not deliver, I tell you, and she looked good early. She kicked a goal, and she looked like she was gonna have, as you said in our last show, her breakout game, but she still hasn't
come. She does. I know we said this off air that she looks a bit uncomfortable out there at the moment.
No, she does. There might be a little bit of shadow chasing her at the moment. I'll tell you what, though, the other marquee player for Melbourne, Daisy Pearce, was really in her own element on the weekend. She was just outstanding. Just looked like she had all the composure in the world, and she went really, really hard at some of the contests.
No offense to all the other women that play the league. Pearce is the elite. She is the elite player.
And I mean, we talk about the hardness, and all the women's players have this really, really strong, hardness at the ball and really strong mental strength and really, really go hard at it. But I think Daisy Pearce's ability, watching her live, she runs into space. She finds the ball, but she's also able to predict the play and get the ball wide.
Really good footy smarts.
Very good footy smarts. And what Melbourne were able to do, I think, in my opinion, very well over Collingwood, where they were able to get it into space, get it on the wings, and kind of get it into the forward 50, where most of the time it would go out the back, and Melbourne would have the Collingwood backman's number most of the time. So, yes, another good win. First win for Melbourne, and very good victory.
Let's go to the final game of the game. Final game of the round, with the Brisbane Lions taking on the Freo Dockers in Perth. And it was, can we say it's an upset, or were Brisbane Lions actually good? That good?
I tell you what, Brisbane Lions have shown a lot more signs of what we were expecting. I think coming into this season, we just kind of expect Brisbane Lions are going to be similar to the Brisbane Lions of the men's league and be absolute cellar dwellers. But I don't think Brisbane are going to be the same case. They've already had 2 very strong victories against teams who
they're fancies,
who are fancied to win a couple of games this season. And I love Taylor Harris, and we're going to get to her points later, but she again just shows just how talented she is.
She kicked the match-winning goal.
She did.
Scores not scores level, so it was a 6-point ball game. Dockers had all the attack. Their last quarter cost them because they couldn't convert. They had pretty much most of the ball in their forward line in the last quarter. Harris takes a big mark and easy to straight through the middle.
it was almost Leo Barry-like. It was Taylor Harris, you star! It was a big mark.
And I love her kicking technique, that Nick Revolt type.
Oh.
And the girl's only 19.
She's got the same hair colour as well,
Yes.
which is just even more fitting.
And she's only 19, so she's got a few, good 10 years on her. Or probably more than that.
And she's going to be very, very good. And the thing is, though, what really let Freo down, they were going into the final quarter just 9 points behind Brisbane, and they could have easily, with the home ground advantage, could have run over the top of Brisbane, but kicking just no goals in the final quarter and just 3 behinds.
No goals in the final half.
That's gonna, and for the final half, that's gonna hurt you any day of the week. And so I think Freo lost that one.
They did lose. By 30
they did
points.
lose, but not only that, but I think they dropped that game. I think.
Oh, they did.
They should have won that.
But let's go to the ladder now with the Adelaide Crows flying high on first with Carlton and Brisbane following. Both have not lost a game, and Adelaide play Carlton next weekend.
Ooh, this is going to be the match of the round.
This could be a one-way ticket to the grand final for the winner of this game.
I think so.
Because, going into 3 rounds with only 4 to go, 3-0, it's going to be hard to topple.
That's right. And you almost think if this game's a close one, these could be the 2 teams playing off in the final. But don't take anything away from Brisbane quite yet.
Oh, yeah, you got the Brisbane Lions, also undefeated, who played Collingwood, first game at home.
Well, that's going to be interesting because Collingwood are under a lot of pressure, and if Collingwood could upset Brisbane, you would say that Brisbane would be the favourites for this one after Collingwood's form so far. If Collingwood could win that game, that'll give them a lot of confidence.
You got the Bulldogs in 4th, Melbourne in 5th, GWS in 6th, 7th Freo, and Collingwood lonely there on the bottom of the ladder. Freo would probably be the most disappointing team in my opinion, judging by they were one of the premiership fancies. They have GWS next week, which could, be good to see one of those teams finally get a win. And Melbourne and Bulldogs also play next week, which pretty much could end the team season, you would think.
It could well do, and you would be very surprised if the Doggies, were to drop that one. But because they were looking so good at the start of the season, it was almost going to look like it was going to be a Melbourne Western Bulldog grand final.
Yes.
But you can't rule anyone out in this competition.
Let's go to the goal kicking.
Yes.
And we're only 2 rounds in, but Darcy Vesio, on her 6 goals, absolutely out in front. I don't think she's going to lose unless someone has a really good game.
That's right. Yeah, someone's going to have to kick over 6 goals in one of their games to get ahead of Darcy. I think if she keeps snagging sausage rolls each week, she's just going to continue to lead the goal kicking. And quite frankly, the award should be named after her by the end of the season.
Yeah, the Vesio Award.
If all things go to plan.
And in second, you got Sarah Tex Perkins, Katie Brennan, and Erin Phillips on 3. And 2 of those players are Adelaide players, so that's a good sign for them. Time for our votes. Our Sin Player of the Year award.
This is going to be very, very hard because this week there are a lot of very, very solid performers around the board.
Yeah, there was really no big standout.
But not a huge, obvious standout from us. But I've given my 3 votes to Taylor Harris from the Brisbane Lions. I think it's so important in a game to have such composure right at the last minute and to snatch a game, which could have went any way, really, looking at that final quarter.
And her last quarter, some of her marks on the wing were outstanding.
They were. She looked like the most comfortable player with the ball out there, and just I saw a lot of dropped marks against in the Collingwood Melbourne game, and I think if you can play well in those big moments, particularly when the pressure is on, you deserve 3 points from me.
Yes, my 3 votes also go to Taylor Harris. Pretty much the same reason you said.
Just composure is such an important thing in a big game, particularly when everything's on the line. I've given 2 votes to Daisy Pearce. I thought when I was watching the game live at the Melbourne Collingwood game at Icon Park, I just thought she's outstanding. She really did show why she is such a highly sought-after player, such a highly rated player.
We have the same brand at the moment because
we
Pearce is my second as well.
We're going,
2 votes for Pearce.
We're going vote to vote here, and
I heard a rumour off air that we both have a Phillips for our one
here
vote.
we go.
Just a rumour.
Well, I've went for the cat of the Phillips variety. She was really great when I went to the game. I was actually in the pocket when she kicked that amazing goal, and I thought, wow, it kind of gave this new energy that hadn't been there for Melbourne all game after that goal. So I think that goal was so influential, can't go underrated. And 2 goals in that game, very, very important.
Mine is Aaron Phillips from Adelaide. No goals this week, but dominant
No relation?
No, I don't know, actually.
Pretty common name.
It is, yeah. It's like all the Browns.
Yeah.
No goals this week, unlike her 3 goals 3 last week, but dominant presence. She played more midfield as well, and this game, very dominant in the midfield. So that's why she gets my 1 vote.
And, of course, helped Adelaide to a very, very comfortable victory in the end.
So we're going to go to another song, which is Aggie March. And then we'll go to the W League and the A League here on the Sports Desk on SYN 90.7. Credit hour here on the Sports Desk on SYN 90.7 with Liam and Michael. And our producer, unfortunately, isn't here. She has more important things.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is going to be one crowded hour here, Liam, on the show. We're going to get straight into the soccer, or the football, as some people call it in Europe. And the A-League Round 19 will be kicking off tonight, where the Jets and the Victory will play at Hunter Stadium. A bit of a hike for those fans wanting to get to that game. And, well, Kevin Muscat came out during the week and said, some more pro refs for this game, but also that the Victory shouldn't rely on the hype of the crowd to get them over the line. Usually they should just rely on their inner sanctum, their players showing a bit more ticker, and they can find some victories that way because... quite frankly, being away from home.
Victory's in their name.
That's right. It's in their name. It's in their nature. And, if they want to win, they can't just rely on the hype of the crowds, even though the hype is crazy if you ever go to a Victory game.
We'll start off with this might come to a surprise to you, but Sydney FC won on the weekend.
Sydney FC won? What?
I know.
Really?
It's
unbelievable. So
first time in 2 weeks they've won a game.
Just to recap, they've just notched up a very, reasonable 14 wins for the season. 5 draws.
0 losses.
0
if
losses,
you don't mind.
Which is unbelievable. I don't know whether that's a record or not. But
it's definitely an A-League record,
It's definitely an A-League record. They've been outstanding this season. If they do a Melbourne Stars and fall at the very final hurdle, I'd be very surprised. But they sit very comfortably on top with 47 points and a very, very handy 3-1 victory over Wellington Phoenix.
Yes.
And, Wellington's season probably hasn't been the best. They've only been able to notch up a solid 5 wins, but, got to give them credit for scoring a goal. And but no, Sydney continue on their merry ways.
Yeah, and we'll talk about a team who hasn't had a nice season whatsoever. Adelaide United with only the 2 wins. Their game got put off half an hour. Adelaide didn't show up at all, losing 5-0 to the Perth Glory.
Did not show up at all. They were better off staying in Adelaide, somewhere else besides their stadium. And, a crowd of 6,000, not too bad. It was probably the lowest crowd for the whole round, actually.
It was very, very, very hot in Adelaide.
It was boiling, and there were concerns there about calling off the game because of the heat. And the Perth brought plenty of glory to that game.
Yeah, Perth are like
morning glory. The Perth like their heat, so I think this played into their court very easily there.
Then the 8-man Melbourne City team drew 2-2 with Brisbane on Saturday night, and then we go down to Sunday, and our boys, the Central Coast Mariners, notched up another 2-0 win. This time not against Perth Glory, against the Western Sydney Wanderers.
Good win from the Central Coast. They sit almost bottom of the ladder, second last on the ladder, and to be
1-3 in a row though.
1-3 in a row. So can they make a late dash for the finals?
I think they can.
I think they can. I mean,
there's still 7 rounds to go.
Still 7 rounds to go. It was a very comfortable victory on the weekend, and big crowd actually at Spotless Stadium. Capacity at Spotless isn't too many, and 9,600. You'll take that crowd any day of the week. So
that's a good A-League crowd. And the big match of the round, big match of the week, was the W League grand final between Perth Glory trying to win their maiden premiership and Melbourne City trying to go back to back. And it should
be the WW League because I've just looked at it's the Westfield W League. It should be the WW League. I like the sound of the WW League.
WW League, yeah. The last time these two teams met before the grand finals in round 8, Perth won 3-2 at Amy Park. These two previous meetings came during the Westfield W League 2015-2016 season, saw Melbourne City win 4-0 on both occasions. Granted, Melbourne City was undefeated last year when they won their first championship.
They were, and this is their second championship in a row. They should be
Spoilers.
very proud of their effort. Just for those of you who didn't tune in to this game, it's their second in a row. And
winning 2-0.
And your favourite player, Jess Fishlock, please say the line.
Fishlock broke the deadlock.
She did. She did it again. She opened up the scoring for the good old Melbourne City.
In the stoppage time during the first half.
And since then, the good old Perth Glory weren't able to get their composure back, and in fact, their keeper helped another goal through at the 72nd minute of the game. And
misjudged the ball. It was really bad. It just went over her head. She thought it was going to be a cross.
It did. I probably wouldn't have covered it any better than she did, and
no.
It was a difficult one. Got herself into a bit of a pickle of a situation, but at the end of the day, a superb victory for Melbourne City. They could go a hat trick.
Oh, do the three-peat.
Do a three-peat.
Well, they're the first W team to ever go back to back. Funny enough,
definitely, yes.
Fun fact for the both leagues: Perth Glory lost the grand final where Brisbane went back to back in the men's. Lost the grand final where City went back to back in the men's, and the only back to back in both leagues.
That is unbelievable.
So if you want to go back to back, play Perth Glory in the grand final.
I'm sure Perth Glory are going to be very, very aware of that next season.
We're going to go to another song now. This is the Can Empire. So Many Nights here on Get Serial. Not Get Serial. Sport Desk on Sin 90.7. That was So Many Nights by the Can Empire here on Sport Desk on Sin 90.7.
You're about to say Get Serial.
It
was on the tip of your tongue.
It is not Thursday yet.
This is the Sports Desk. See, you almost got me saying it by proxy there. It's the Sport Desk.
This is Get Sport Desk Serial.
This is the Get Serial Sport Desk on 90.7 FM. Of course, we're going to jump into the NBL. Of course, the playoffs have been confirmed. The Wildcats are coming. Their streak is well and truly alive.
31 straight final series, if you don't mind.
Unbelievable. The Wildcats. They don't call them the Wildcats for nothing there. They are feral. They're feral cats right now. They are unbelievable.
Down Melbourne United, who formerly known as Melbourne Tigers. Still don't know why they changed their name. That's very stupid. Very stupid.
Yes, and Perth Wildcats, they finished third on the NBL ladder.
Do you wonder, do they think got to get your hand in the game before every game?
Surely they pay Zac Efron out a little bit of money to get him involved, get the Afro guy in, just get everyone involved, get everyone on board.
And they always think like, what time is it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They don't have to.
All the classic hits. I mean, practically Perth Wildcats are endorsed by the Disney Channel, so they are huge. Adelaide 36ers, of course, finished on top of the league ladder, 17 wins, 2 games clear of everyone else. They did extremely well, 2 games clear of first, second, and third being Cairns, Taipanes, and of course the Wildcats.
And then the
Illawarra
Illawarra
Hawks.
Hawks.
Yeah, they sneaked
another
in as well.
Hawks team's in the finals, which everyone in Victoria was like, really? Let's get rid of the Hawks.
But quite sadly, Melbourne, they couldn't get in, unfortunately.
Funnily enough, Sydney finished second last, and they were first for pretty much the first half of the year.
Yeah, very interesting.
So yes, and the finals have now been confirmed with Adelaide 36ers playing the Illawarra Hawks
on the 16th, the 19th, and the 23rd of February.
If need be, of course.
If need be, of course.
Then the Cairns Taipans play the High School Musical Wildcats
on the 17th, the 20th, and if necessary, the 24th of February, the Wildcats.
And then the NBL Grand Final Series will be held between the 27th and March the 12th, with the winner, as you might know, being crowned champion
of 2017. How incredible would that be? The Wildcats, as we said before, 31st straight final series, if you don't mind. God, they're just going to continue their winning ways, I would imagine. And, hopefully they don't. And I know we keep alluding to this, the Melbourne Stars. Let's hope they don't fall at the final.
Is there a bit of pain there?
There is a lot of pain beneath this smile about the Melbourne Stars. When are we gonna win? I do not know. But on that note, we're gonna head straight into the cricket, and of course, as we were saying before, the hapless T20 series is about to kick off. And
what's the point?
What is the point, indeed? I suppose it might be a warm-up, maybe for a couple of oldies like our good mate from the Perth Scorchers to get into it. Michael Klinger is going to be one of the oldest players to debut in the 2020. And good on him as well. He's deserved it. He's played an incredible Big Bash series. And he might bring a little bit of composure into the lineup for the Australians.
Yeah. It's only a 3-game series. This one at MCG Simmons Stadium.
Cardinia Park.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be good down at Geelong. I think they're gonna get a good crowd in there. Weather's not expected to be too good. Of course, down at Geelong, it's a little bit nippy. So
why would anyone want to go down to Geelong anyways? Like, it's Geelong.
It is Geelong, but if you want a nice little ice cream, freeze to death, and have a
maybe get stabbed,
a bit of a peruse of the beach and the big country town, it's a nice place to go for a big bash. And Geelong love their Friday nights there when the Catters are playing down at the Cattery.
The Cats
what do they call it now? The Cats aren't playing. What is it? The Big Bashery.
The Big Bashery.
The Big Bashery. That kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? And also, I just saw one of the inclusions for Sri Lanka. Lasith Malinga, our man, the big slinger. He's going to be coming into the squad.
That surprised me that he's
I'm surprised he's still playing.
He's like, what, 1,000, 2,000 years old now?
Oh, I tell you what, him and Mirali are going to be making comebacks very shortly. Him and Chukka, that one's a slinger, one's a chucker. Sri Lankans have a way, don't they, with producing players like that. Also, in other news around the cricket stadiums, Alistair Cook has stepped down as England captain. Not really surprising after his series over in India, being a major whitewash. They weren't able to take a test off the Indians. And the Indians are doing very, very well at the moment.
Very scary for the Aussies.
They're playing Bangladesh, and Australia are going to have to be on their game. Bangladesh, they managed to post 388, but India in their first innings, 6 for 687. They had plenty of contributors. Kohli again continues his unbelievable form. Notching up a solid double ton, if you don't mind. And yes, he's playing very, very well as it stands. And so Bangladesh, they have to make a pretty unlikely 360 to win this test match. So it looks like India are going to win their 5th straight test in a row. And the Australians certainly have a task ahead of them. And also, talking about the Australian preparation, big Usman Khawaja. We know he's a very slick player. We know he's very elegant to watch, very, very skillful out in the crease. But he got dismissed in a very, very interesting way, Liam. And I want your thoughts on this one. He was having a little bit of a bat in the centre, getting some practice for the India series. They are, of course, training in Dubai at the moment. And Usman Khawaja hits a ball onto his pads, bobbles up, and guess who it's caught by? It is caught by a plastic chair at short leg. And it landed perfectly in short leg's laps, and he was dismissed.
So it should be.
Now, I've got to ask you,
for the chair,
if it bounced off the chair and landed on the ground, would he have been given out?
I think I would have caught him out as well.
Would have been caught out? If Nick Maddinson was there, on the other hand, he probably wouldn't have been out. Yeah, would have dropped him. Also, in other news, Sheffield Shield scores, just revising those. In the first innings, Victoria made 184, pretty dismal. But then South Australia all bowled out for 178. In the second innings, Victoria made a better score of 306. Didn't have any century makers, but they had plenty of contributors around the board, including Aaron Finch making a very handy 71 runs. South Australia, checking the scores last night, 8 for 174.
And your little story from the local cricket.
Yes, this was pretty unbelievable stuff. Of course, in the local cricket, there is a side called the Magpies, and they're probably doing just as well as the Women's League Magpies. Haven't notched up many wins, all the men's in that regard as well. The Camberwell Magpies, they had an extraordinary scorecard. I just want to read it to you. There's one particular player there called Simon Hill. And he bats at number 3, Ricky Ponting's old position, first drop, very popular position. He made a sensational 80% of the Magpies' runs on the weekend. Now, this included a major 137 not out on 100 off 172 balls, if you don't mind. What an innings by Simon. But not many contributors around the board. The highest score besides the 137 was... it was, believe it or not, 8 runs from one of the very lower order batsmen. There were 7 ducks in this scorecard. That's right, 7 ducks. So it was 137 by Simon. Camberwell were bowled out for 172.
Disappointing.
Very disappointing
But
indeed.
good effort. Good solo effort.
Good solo
Who
effort
says
by
an
Simon.
Hawaiian team?
Exactly. Made the main percentage of his runs. And it was funny, when Lance Franklin kicked his 13 goals against North Melbourne, he actually kicked a higher score than North Melbourne combined. So
Well, Vesio on last Friday night kicked a higher score than the Magpies combined.
that's right. So I tell you what, a lot of very interesting irony surrounding a couple of these sports stories today.
We're going to go do something more AFL when we come back. This is Little Red Rocket here and guess.
The sports desk. You're going to get it right. You're going to get it right eventually.
This is
Sporting cereal.
This is the sports desk.
Hey, there we go. You are listening to the Sports Desk on
Sports Desk, the
Sin
Sports
90.7 FM. Keep saying it. He's been saying it all during the break, just trying to get it right. Congratulations, Liam. We're going to recap a couple of the scores. Of course, Australia are preparing quite thoroughly for their India tour. Of course, during the recent ODI series against New Zealand, David Warner, Steve Smith, and Usman Khawaja did not participate.
And the skipper, Wade, who wasn't the skipper.
And the skipper, Wadey. Nice, Gary. Anyway,
Nice, Gary.
we know all about that. And, of course, the preparation is quite nice at the moment. And a player who's doing particularly well and who may play in the upcoming series, Ashton Agar. You might remember Ashton Agar. He was caught on 92, only 8 runs short against England. I stayed up all night to watch that and
done nothing since.
And cried myself to sleep after that. And he has done, you're right, he has done nothing since. He's a good contributor with the bat and the ball and plays pretty well for the Perth Scorchers. And every now and then he does come out of nowhere and bats very, very well. He's made a couple of tons in the Sheffield Shield. He has been dominating with the bat and the ball during the practice matches. Maybe no one else is really caring, but certainly Agar is, and he's made an unbeaten 74 and looked very solid with the ball as well, getting 4 wickets as well. So he's doing well. Sean Marsh made a 62 the other day. Mitch Marsh made a 53. And Jackson Bird, 41 not out, if you don't mind. So a bit of batting options there down the order as well. So and also recapping, Khawaja dismissed by a plastic chair. Well, let's hope he doesn't have the same luck in the Test series as well. We're going to move into the AFL,
yes. You were speaking about on the Friday show about all the new captains. After the show, Jack Viney, young 22-year-old in Melbourne, was announced as the new skipper.
See this.
What a gun Jack Viney is.
So glad to see this. He has so many leadership qualities. He's one of the hardest players you'll see in the entire competition. And he really will complement Nathan Jones well.
I heard rumours that he runs through brick walls as his preparation pre-game.
I can believe that.
That's his pre-game ritual. Well, Luke Hodge actually gets shot at point blank range as his pre-game to warm him up.
I can believe that.
Yes.
And I remember once I was watching a pre-game show, and I think Adelaide were playing, and one of the players, it might have been Brodie Smith, he was standing there, just taking these boxing punches just in his in his core area, and I could not believe it. Just punches like like almost as if they were punching a punching bag.
Yeah, and I don't get that.
Brodie Smith's just standing there, got a pretty strong gut. Look at me, I'm just getting punched in the core, and I'm thinking,
might have a few snags later on.
Yeah, a couple of sausage rolls, whatever. But I was just very intrigued about that. But no, Jack Viney is a very good option.
And he'll be captain for a good decade.
That's right, and I mean Nathan Jones as well. He can pass on his expertise to Jack Viney. Not that he will need it, because Jack Viney is as hard as they come.
But he won the best first last year, actually.
He did.
Have you seen this many captains in one captain turnovers?
I do not think I have.
Viney.
Maybe in the 1800s when they first brought in the AFL, VFL. Tom Lynch and Stephen May, as we predicted on the show. Good work by you, Liam.
I've got a soft spot for Gold Coast, and I've got a soft spot for Tom Lynch. So
I did not know you had a soft spot for the Gold Coast. Probably sympathy more than anything.
They remind me of an early Fremantle with the lack of success and really bad trades.
And not only really bad trades, but probably really bad mascot options.
Yes, and a very bad theme song.
Yes, there's so many similarities here, and you're going to choke in a grand final potentially one day.
Yeah.
Jack Zeeble, of course, another very hard nut, will become the captain of North Melbourne.
He was always going to be captain of the club. That was never.
I could never really see another option there. I mean, Ben Cunnington was kind of tossed up in those options, but
Tarrant was vice captain, but I could see him as a captain player.
But I think Jack Zeeble's a good option. Josh Kennedy, after his heroics in the grand final,
one of those ones where you don't think about it until it happens, and you think that's a perfect decision.
Just to think at the very start of his career, he was at Hawthorn. Gee, wouldn't they be rolling around in there? No, they probably wouldn't be.
They're crying with their premiership cups and just wiping those tears away.
They probably do remind him about that a fair few times. Probably one of my favourite ones to see. Jared Roughhead, returning to football after so long. Everyone felt for him after everything that happened to him with his scare. He's back, and not only is he back, he's now the new skipper of Hawthorn, and he's a favourite around the whole AFL. I think everyone loves Ruffy.
Everyone's gone from hating Hawthorn to they're okay now.
Loving one player from Hawthorn. We like Ruffy.
Ruffy's captain. Oh, okay. I guess.
We don't hate him as much now. It's all right. Now, the next one.
Mr. Doctor Who here.
Mr. Doctor Who. Mr. John Smith. Mr. Jared Gary? Is that how you pronounce it?
Jaron Gary. I think it's Jaron Gary, yes.
Jaron Gary. And, of course, during the Brexit back last year, the biggest question on Google was, what is the Brexit? The biggest question on Google just recently is, who is Jaron? That was the big question.
And he's the skipper of St Kilda.
He's the new skipper of St Kilda. Now, yes, he doesn't have the blonde hair. He doesn't have the tall physique.
He really has no hair, actually.
His knees doesn't touch his head when he kicks for goals, but he is a hard nut. People love him at the Saints.
Rumours saying he can actually kick a goal after the siren. I'm like, the former captain could. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that a very important character trait? Good on Jared. Now, we must remind you that Jaron, besides with David Armitage, was the emergency for both grand finals, I'm pretty sure.
And are you talking about 09?
2009?
So I know he was both in 2010, the draw and the replay.
He was emergency, I'm pretty sure, in the 2009 grand final alongside David Armitage, which is a little bit shy.
Well, they should have had the skipper in, they would have won.
They would have won, the future skipper. Who would have known? Who would have known a couple of years later he'd be there? Of course, recapping my club's skipper, it was always going to be an obvious option. There was a little bit of conjecture whether Jobe Watson could hold on to his... Well, I mean, he couldn't hold on to his Brownlow. Could he hold on to his captaincy? He's letting go of everything at the moment. But not his coffee career. But, of course, Goddard...
Goddard wanted to be captain, and everyone had a good laugh about that.
They did.
Hey, guys, I want to be captain.
Okay. You're not going to get it 2 years in a row, are you? But Dyson Heppel, of course, the new captain of Essendon.
Yes.
He did a really great role when he was off. On his year off, he did a lot of work
in Australia
on Fox
most of the time,
and he was brilliant, I thought. And he's got a lot of lovable traits. This guy. Not only does he have the original Daisy Thomas hair, but he plays like an absolute superstar.
Hope he doesn't turn to Daisy Thomas, shave his hair, and
if you've ever listened to Dyson Heppel speak, he's very upbeat, very charismatic. Very, how you going, mate? G'day. He's brilliant, and he brings a lot of life to Essendon, and I think he's going to be an excellent captain this year.
And then we were a week away from the JLC series, and there's only a few more teams left to have them picked. We've got Adelaide, Brisbane, Collingwood, Freo, GWS, Richmond, and West Coast have yet to choose their leadership group.
And it's looking at the moment. I would love to see Dane Zorko be the captain of Brisbane. I've
heard Beams is contention, but he's only played 18 games.
That's right.
Zorko's been there for years now.
That's right, and he's really came out of the blue and really playing like an absolute gun over there. Your club, of course, looking at Nat Fyfe for the captaincy, and
that could be please stay, please don't go.
Yes, it could well be, unless he does a Ryan Griffin. Let's hope not. GWS, of course, are yet to decide.
But you'd expect
Cullen Ward and
Phil Davis
to do it again. And Alex Rance has been thrown up for Richmond.
Yes, a rumour that he could replace Cochin. Maybe Cochin's the captaincy got to him, after 2012. Now Brownlow medal, yeah.
He's got all the accolades. Still hurts me.
Another rumour I've heard was Luke Shuey Luke Shuey might become captain of the West Coast Eagles.
Well, it's definitely not going to be Nit Nat Nui this year because I think he might be. He might be captaining from his bedside table.
And then you got Sam Mitchell. Maybe could become captain. Yeah, give it to Mitchell.
Potentially. In fact, that would be a very interesting choice, wouldn't it?
And also the JLC series does start on Thursday.
Series on Thursday. Well, it might start on Thursday,
yes.
depending on whether the players like their paychecks. But that one will kick off at Etihad Stadium around 7:30, 7:50.
Yes.
So those Essendon and Collingwood supporters looking to see
Will
the
you be
brand
going to the
new
game?
look sides, I will be trying to get down to the game if it's on. I'll definitely be there. I'd love to see this new look Essendon team. It will be interesting to see whether Essendon will play a lot of their senior players, considering they haven't had a real run at, the four-quarter footy for a very long time. Be very interesting to see what they can do.
And that's all the time we have for here on the Sports Desk.
Yes, very good job there. You can hear the applause all around Melbourne right now. But yes, thank you for joining us for another week. Of course, join us on Friday for the Friday edition of the Sports Desk. Get Cereal, whatever the name is, of course.
Get Cereal Sports Desk in joke.
We've done a lot of cross promotion today, haven't we?
Yes.
It's certainly been a good show. And yes, join us next week for another episode of the Sports Desk on SYN 90.7 FM.